Hello, I'm Marvin Jolly, your 2021 chairman at Texas Realtors. We have the pleasure today talking with Wendy Mann of Crew Network. Wendy, with a mission to transform the commercial real estate industry by advancing women globally, and with 5 chapters in Texas, share more about Crew Network and how you're advancing women in the industry.
Hi, Marvin. Thanks so much for having me today. I'm delighted to be here. Texas is a home to one of our biggest chapters, Dallas, and one of our oldest, as well as some very, very up and coming other markets, as you know, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. So we are very proud of our presence here. Crew Network overall is a global organization, and we focus on 4 things for women, and that is business connections. We want to bring women together to do business together, make deals together, and serve one another. And just because land is local, the deals are global now, right? So that Crew Network can have you in touch with people across the country coming into the marketplace. And as you know, Texas has been booming the last few years. So business connections is our first pillar. Our second pillar is leadership skills development, which is really important to make sure that women have the leadership skills they need when those opportunities and promotions arise. The third is our career outreach. We can't advance women in commercial real estate if we don't have women in commercial real estate. So we offer 2 career programs, U-Crew and Crew Careers. And I know that our chapters in Texas are very active in going into the local schools, in the high schools, as well as universities, to educate women about the opportunities in commercial real estate. In addition to that, our 4th and final pillar is actually our research. And we are the only organization in the commercial real estate industry that is actually benchmarking women's progress in commercial real estate. And this year, we actually widened our lens on that and are focused on overall diversity and inclusion in commercial real estate. So we now have some data for the Black, Indigenous, and people of color community as well in commercial real estate. So we feel like we now have some benchmarks where we can show some growth from, hopefully over the next several years.
Thank you, Wendy. We're also joined by our president and CEO at Texas Realtors, Travis Kessler. Travis?
Yeah, and thank you, Wendy, for joining us today. Those are outstanding pillars for Crew, and thank you for elaborating on your goals and what you all do in this industry. You are to be commended for the outreach and the services that you provide. So, Wendy, we recognize there are different barriers to entry and access across marginalized groups. So, Crew's research shows that only about 9% of C-suite positions in commercial real estate are held by women. Can you elaborate on some of those barriers for women in commercial real estate and specific barriers when you add the layer of intersectional identities?
Thank you, Travis. It is very nice to meet you and be here with you as well. I will tell you that every year when we do, or every 5 years when we do our benchmark study, we do measure the barriers for women. And what we found are there's inherent bias. We all have bias. It's not just one side or the other. Everybody has certain biases. So we do find that there's bias in hiring. We find that the lack of sponsorship of women does hurt their ability to grow and advance, both from a career standpoint as well as a business opportunity standpoint. So not having access to some of those bigger deals or a seat at the table when those are being discussed. Also, frankly, there's still gender discrimination and discrimination overall. And so I think that is an important piece. I think that the other piece of it is there's 2 other things that I would say. Sometimes it's a personal choice to opt out of wanting to advance. And I think that that's, every individual's decision. So sometimes we do see that some women will opt out and say, I'm good here being at the senior VP level or the managing principal level. I don't aspire, and that's okay. For those that do, one of the big things that we see sometimes holds women back is their ability to negotiate their opportunity, negotiate their compensation, those kinds of things. And so I think that once we address those barriers, and we'll talk about that, I think, a little later, those are some of the key things. And I'll be honest with you, they're not just for women. Women and men, believe it or not, in our study, in the most recent one, have the same barriers. They noted most of the same barriers, which I thought was really fascinating. that we're not alone in what we see as some things that may hold us back.
Thank you, Wendy. Crew's research also revealed that women only occupy 36.7% of the commercial real estate industry, and that there's a staggering commission and bonus gap of almost 56%. What would you say are some action items that the industry and we at Texas Realtors can take to resolve these inequities?
Well, yeah, Marvin, that is the big thing about our studies. We always put in the action items. What can you do to change? Because we all need to work on that. And so, first of all, one of my favorite sayings or quotes is one of my first bosses said to me, "Wendy, the fish rots from the head down." And of course, when I was 24, I had no idea what he was talking about. But, that is one of the very first elements of what needs to change. It has to start from the top down. The CEO has to make the commitment and hold others in leadership accountable for making change. And the other action items include conducting a pay parity study on a periodic basis to make sure that there is equal opportunity, equal access, and equal pay for everyone in the company, based on their role. I think the other thing is that, eradicating bias and holding people accountable for that, especially in the hiring practices. If people can't even get in the door, you're not going to have diversity. And, this industry, on the commercial real estate side, historically, what's happened in hiring is there'll be a position open and the boss, who's no offense, older white guy, will say to the other guys on the team, "Hey, do you know anyone?" That's how we end up with having men in all of these positions. So I think that changing the hiring practice and holding people accountable for bringing in a more diverse population, and then sponsoring those folks and helping them grow and realize their best potential and contribution to the company. And I do think that finally, and I think one of the most important things you all can do down in the heart of Texas is to partner with your Crew chapter. There are, as Marvin started out at the beginning saying, multiple chapters of Crew, and we're doing some really wonderful things that would be a great partnership and opportunity for companies and for the Texas Realtors Association. So thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Well, thank you, Wendy. So we've been talking with Wendy Mann, CEO at Crew Network, on this episode of Pass the Mic. Wendy, on behalf of 135,000 members, Travis Kessler and I want you to know we appreciate you, the work that you're doing, and the mission of your organization. If you're watching this video and you have more questions and you're interested about Crew Network, you can get more information at crewnetwork.org. Thank you.